mentioned. Indeed, UNESCO is not the EU. It stands for United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization. And I will come back to this acronym in my speech. And a very short introduction, it will probably about 5-10 minutes. Thank you very much for inviting me to welcome you on this MOST Winter School, UNESCO MOST program. I don't see the most interesting. It's most interesting, but does anybody else know what does MOST stand for in this management? Yeah, sorry. Of bridge. Bridge, yeah, it's bridge. Excellent. In Slavic languages. What else do you think?
In Hungarian.
In Hungarian.
Yes.
Now. It stands for now. But actually, it stands for a UNESCO program, an intergovernmental program, which is the management of social transformations.
This is here. This is.
So we are in a UNESCO context, and this is within the program of a UNESCO intergovernmental cooperation called Management of Social Transformations. And indeed, social transformations there are, and there have been with us for a long time. Actually, my talk that comes now is a kind of a footnote to Ambassador Andrić's concept of post-Westphalian paradigm. UNESCO started as a post-Westphalian paradigm, and I will try to show you that by going back to the preamble of the Constitution of UNESCO in 1946. The preamble of the Constitution of UNESCO, so the founding document of UNESCO, starts with this sentence, that since wars begin in the minds of men and women, it is in the minds of men and women that the defenses must be constructed.
In 46 it wasn't so obvious.
To some. But this sentence is quoted all ad nauseam everywhere when somebody talks about UNESCO. This in itself is not very new, but actually this post-Westphalian society as UNESCO being not only state to state, but society to society and individual to individual, and even further into the minds of the individual. In a nutshell, this is UNESCO's mission, and I think it's very well expressed in the opening sentence. Actually, there was a dilemma whether UNESCO should be consecrated to the actual physical reconstruction of the educational institutions. You know, we are in 1945. Schools, churches are bombed, are in ruins across Europe and elsewhere in the world. Whether this cooperation should take the form of actually rebuilding the brick and mortar of the educational infrastructure, or, and the second option was chosen, to reconstruct or to construct the very infrastructure of intellectual cooperation among nations, and this is where it becomes more tricky. What do we mean by nations? Again, in the post-Westphalian society paradigm. So the preamble continues that ignorance of each other's ways and lives has been a common cause throughout the history of mankind of that suspicion and mistrust. And I highlight, and this is why I very much like the title of this summer, of this winter school, In What and Whom Do We Trust? And this UNESCO project started from the recognition of mistrust, suspicion and mistrust between the peoples of the world through which their differences have all too often broken into war. That the great and terrible war, which has now ended, was a war made possible by the denial of the democratic principles of dignity, equality, and mutual respect of men and women, and by the propagation in their place through ignorance and prejudice, so again, the opposite of trust, of the doctrine of the inequality of men and women and races. So, and here comes our important part, really in the Westphalian paradigm again, that the wide diffusion of culture and the education of humanity for justice and liberty and peace are indispensable to the dignity of men and women and constitute a sacred duty which all the nations must fulfill in a spirit of mutual assistance and concern. So we are talking of something of a global citizenship, a citizenship that is not limited to the local, not even to the national, or not even to the regional, but towards a global citizenship avant la lettre. This was not yet used in 1946, but today it is a current term in UNESCO to talk about global citizenship and global citizenship education, which is also cognitive, emotional, and behavioral. Now, and to come to the thesis sentence about the post-Westphalian paradigm, the point is this, that the peace, again, I'm still quoting from the preamble, that the peace based exclusively upon the political and economic arrangements of governments, which would be a Westphalian paradigm, would not be a peace which could secure the unanimous and lasting and sincere support of the peoples of the world. And that the peace must therefore be founded, if it is not to fail, upon the intellectual and moral solidarity of mankind. So it is not enough to put together the elites, the political elites of the peoples of the world, those 200 states. At that time there were not yet 200. You are still in the colonial system very much until the 60s, right? So there were less states. But even that was not considered enough to put together the governments, but rather, and this is where national commissions come in. So it is not, UNESCO is an intergovernmental institution, but it is the only United Nations agency that has a national commissions within it. I haven't put on a slide, but Article 7 of the Constitution of UNESCO talks about national cooperative bodies, national cooperation bodies, later called national commissions, whose task is precisely to connect this organization with civil society, with society at large, with professional organizations in education, science, and culture. And I will come back to science in a moment. So national commissions are in a way the connecting interface towards society at large. And let me also recall one thing. At the London conference, where all this was drafted in 1945-46, the British Minister of Education, Alan Wilkinson, has spoken publicly of the concern about the future path of scientific research in the aftermath of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. We are in 1945, Hiroshima, Nagasaki just took place. And I quote Alan Wilkinson: "In these days, when we are all wondering, perhaps apprehensively, what the scientists will do us next, it is important that they should be linked closely with the humanities and should feel they have a responsibility to mankind for the result of their labors." End of quote. So originally UNESCO was meant to be UNESCO, United Nations Educational and Cultural Organizations, and it was on the insistence of the British and the fear that science, if left without the company of the humanities, the social and human sciences, will go wild. The atomic bomb, and you name it, genetic modification, whatever. So sciences, the hard sciences, have to be kept at bay, have to be kept in the context of social and human sciences. And I think iASK is the ideal place for that. So I thank you very much for allowing me the opportunity to bring the message of the very origin of UNESCO and the raison d'etre of UNESCO. And here is just an aerial photo of the headquarters of the organization. This is not where I work. Thank you very much.